What's up, brother?
Yo, and to the yo.
How long you been driving so far?
I've been on the road for about 3 hours.
Yeah, man, that's a drive. Yeah, you were talking earlier. I fall asleep. I fall asleep easily driving. It's crazy. You know, um, it's scary too because I could be like, uh, I not sleep at home, not sleep whatever for whatever reason. When I get a car in my car, I got a Jeep, and I get in there. I'm just like sitting. I'm just like. Yeah, if I drive for long periods of time and I'm like tired, it's scary. One of my best friends died that way. He fell asleep, and that's scary.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's because it's so calming. They say that when you drive, you're using the other side of your brain, and things
Uh
kind of
huh.
drop a little bit. Your anxiety drops and stuff. I also was when I was a baby. My parents used to when I was a colicky baby. They told me
Yeah.
that they would just get in a car and start driving around, and I would sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to do that to my daughter. I'd wake up like uh first when I had my apartment, wake up in the middle of the night, she would be screaming and screaming. I'd take her in my car like 2 or 3 in the morning and just like take a drive, and she would fall asleep. I'd take her back in. But I got a DWI from falling asleep before. They thought I was on. They thought I was on drugs, and so dude, it was crazy. Like so,
That's fucking nuts.
I I remember I got a certified check that morning, like earliest, and I didn't sleep that night at all. I slept like 2 hours, and I was like, all right, I'm driving to Arlington, going to see my dad. It was like it's an hour drive from Dallas. So um, I had a big Tahoe at the time, and this was like I guess 4 years ago maybe, and I was dozed off here and there, and then I thought I clipped this guy's car like barely. And so I pull up next to him, like I don't want to get a hit and run, so I pull up next to him and I was telling him to like pull over. If I never did this, if I just kept going, I would have been fine. I was telling him to pull over, like in a nice way, like dude, like so. I wasn't like pull over, I'm gonna beat you up, but so I was like, hey man, like when we pulled over, I was like, I think he's like, no, my car's fine. So we're looking at it, and next thing you know, there's 3 cop cars pulled up, and so this is Grand Prairie cops, and it's like uh, they're in it's in between Dallas and Arlington. So I'm like, okay, I don't think anything of it. And they're like, they all come up, they're what's going on, and they ask the guy, they're like, so is your car your car fine? He's like, yeah, he didn't hit it, it's fine. And the guy's like, so they're like, do you want to, when they like see, you have good like, I have cop friends, of course, but when I have encounters with the cops, they've never been good. They just look at me, and I guess I have a look that they think that they don't like or whatever. But you know, um, they start being dicks right away, and they're young. They're young cops, and so they're probably in their a couple. There was 2 of them in their, like early 20s, and the other one was like maybe 40. But um, and they're like start talking to this, and I was at that time I had a this clinic was sponsoring me. When you do those vitamin IVs, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I was
yeah.
doing that like twice a week, and they get out and they're like, well, have you been take anything or do anything? I'm like, no. They're like, what's that track mark on your arm? I go, that's from a vitamin IV. And they're like, well, we're gonna do some tests. We're gonna do some tests, and it's like it's in August in Texas, so it's like 100, 104, 103 out. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll play your little game. And I was like, I'm just trying to get to my dad's, and so they do all their stuff and ask you to like walk, do the leg walk and all that. And I did all that fine. And then they're like, oh, well, can we check your car? I'm like, no, you can't check my car. I didn't have anything in my car, but I'm not going to let them check my car. And
Right.
so they saw my door was open because I was checking on his car. They saw a prescription bottle in there. And at that time, I had surgery on I think on my pec, like 3-4 months prior, and so they're like, "Was it your script on?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "It was pain medicine." They're like, "Oh, well, we're going to do a blood. Can we draw blood on you?" I'm like, "No, I just want to go to I'm not under the influence of anything. I just want to go to my dad's house." And so, when you refuse blood, they take you in anyways. You know, you could say yes or no; it doesn't matter. They just
Right.
arrest you anyways. And so I went through all of that, and then took it to court, took it to trial, and I had to hire a good trial attorney because I don't know, I had stuff in my system that I was taking from a doctor, medicines, and so
Right.
you know the the problem is when you got a prescription of pain medicine, it says and if you're taking it several times throughout the day, what are you technically just never supposed to drive? It doesn't really make sense. And so
Right.
we took it to trial, and all these three cops, they got up on the stands and they're like, yes, and this. I mean, and when they arrested me, the guy was grabbing my arm, the cop, like with both his hands and like digging his fingers in me. I'm like, dude, why the f are you like trying to hurt my arm? Like it's not working. But what are you doing? And they were just dicks. And so
Right.
took it to trial, and I beat it. And then the judge, it was all on body cam, and they're so stupid that you guys forget this is all recorded. And the judge watches everything, and they're like, first of all, y'all did an illegal a stop, like an illegal search. He said no, and illegal detainment, and you arrested him, and he's not under the influence. They got my blood results back, and so they were still trying to prosecute me. And I spent like 30 grand for this attorney because it was a huge mess, dude. But I don't know, but it's
You need to
just
write a book, Armon. That's
one
what
of
you need to do.
yeah. I
You do. You need to write your biography. You got a very interesting biography, my friend.
yeah, I really do, and that's I don't tell most of the stories either. So gosh,
Save it.
it's talking.
Save it for the book.
Yeah, here we go. So I mean, today, I guess we get a lot. I get a lot of messages. I'm sure you do too. Um, I competed. You were a top pro in the world. Other people we have on here, Lee and everybody, whatever. When you tell people like, "Hey, I don't take this stuff anymore." You like stay like around 270. I stay around like 260, 270. Like this is just weight from years and years and years of training and all that. You see some bodybuilders that when they retire, they lose everything. Some of them just like lose everything. They just get really skinny again, and I think that happens. I don't know what's your thoughts on it, but I think that usually happens to the ones that never really built a good base. I know you were a muscular kid. I started gaining muscle easily when I started working. I think if you build your physique on drugs right away, I think when you retire, you lose that more. Like, what do you think about that?
I think it's a lot of psychological too. You know, in my opinion, bodybuilding is a very, very um, superficial. Obviously, it's a superficial sport, but there's a lot of body dysmorphia problems. You know, I don't think that the majority of the people that are involved in bodybuilding right now, men and women, are actually enjoying what they're doing. I think it is a obsession. I think it is something that they have to do because they have a chemical imbalance in their head. And I'm being honest when I say this. I love
Yeah,
bodybuilding. I live the lifestyle. I eat. Even though I don't have to, I eat every 2.5 hours. I
yeah,
drink 2.5 gallons of water a day. I go to the gym and I train very intense. I might not be going as heavy as I did before, but if I wanted to, I would go and I find a training partner and I go back to training like I used to and go heavy and what have you. But I don't want to right now. I think there's a
yeah,
mental aspect to it, Armand. A lot of people don't like the suffering and the pain and the torture and the hell on earth that they go through. They do it because of an obsession and a mental problem. I really believe
yeah,
that. I mean, I know people who sacrificed their families and their lives and their everything you can possibly imagine for bodybuilding, which to me is insane.
I
That's
know. I mean,
absolutely insane. Because if it was NFL, if this was the NBA, if this was the NHL, whatever, and you had yourself a nice fat contract and you can live off of that for the rest of your life, yes, it's totally understandable, but not this.
no. I mean, obviously, when you were competing, you were one of the best in the world. You traveled everywhere. Everybody knew who you were in the world. And then, as you know, after that, kind of when social media came around, that kind of stopped when they started giving out 1,000 pro cards a year. And uh, I know it watered it. I watered it down a lot, but yeah, I mean, you had to have loved bodybuilding, whatever, in the late '90s, early 2000s to really do it. Because other than making it to the magazines, which that was really cool. I'm sure the first time you were in a magazine, that was like the coolest thing ever. Like I know it. That was like really
Absolutely.
cool. When, yeah,
Absolutely.
that was like, yeah, that's like one of the main things you look up to. You read all these magazines and look at all these guys, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually in one of these things. And so that was the cool part. But other than that, and just the sheer love of bodybuilding, it wasn't this social media thing where we had to get this approval, or it's so cool to compete or just do a show or whatever. We didn't have all that. So that's why it was just such like more of a niche thing. And pe- people will criticize us and be like, oh, y'all are just hating the new times, this and that. No, it's like, no, I really wish a lot of these people got to experience how cool it used to be. And, you could go out to
Yeah.
Venice Golds and experience that whole, thing, or, go up to the East Coast where you guys were at and trained and all that. It was just such different times. And you're right. Too many people are doing it today just because they want to just put everything on the social media, and they want to have people like praising them, or you have those guys. I have friends that I won't even prep because they start a prep and they drop out every time, but they just want to put their pictures up there. Hey, I'm this many weeks out from this show, and everybody's like, oh cool, when is your show, when are you competing next, just for like validation. And that's where you're totally right. And the people that we absolutely like loved bodybuilding, was in love with it. And today, people are just obsessed with their bodies, what other people are going to say, and I think it hurts a lot of these people too, because no one wants to get that chubby, full, all season look anymore either. They want to stay lean all the time. And
Right.
I know you get it all the time too. Like, hey, I want to get bigger, but I still want to keep my abs. I want to keep my face lean and all that stuff. You're like, dude, you could go like 6 months and do a true off season, and you're gonna gain a lot of muscle during that time. You're not If you compete year after year after year, you're just gonna look the same if you're not doing much of an off season. And I don't know with your clients. I find clients like, okay, they'll do a prep and all that, but the off season it's what I have a hard time getting people to do. They're just like, it's too much food, this is just not for me. I'll just, start back up when prep. How's it for you? Because I know you've got a lot of Iranian clients, and so they're hard workers, obviously, over there. But your clients here, I'm not sure how they are. How are your clients here, King? Are they like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, sort of. Listen, the just take one. Let's take one step back to what you just said right now. The obvious response from the trolls right now will be, "Then how come you guys are on social media? How come you?" Well, it's because we're going with the times. That's why.
Yeah.
I get that question all the time. King, you always put down social media. You say it was the downfall of society, but you're on it. I'm like, yeah, because that's what everybody else is doing. I don't want to fall back. I want to make sure I'm going, but I'm not going to bullshit and lie to you. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, look at this. The best example I can give is this fucking 21-year-old jackass that just called Shador Sanders and prank called them and said, "We want you." It's all over the news. The coach's son prank called the guy on draft day, telling him that he was drafted because he wanted clicks. I mean, that is obscene. I mean, if I was that guy's father, I would beat the living shit out of my son. He'd be grounded for life. I would smack the shit out of him. Even if I had to go to fucking jail for a couple days, I'd still smack the shit out of him. You know, that's where we're at right now. Okay, but getting back to what you're saying, yeah, you know, it's hard, you know, to a lot of people don't want to get that offy look. But me personally, you know, if I hear one centella of someone trying to push against me, I tell them goodbye. Good luck. Go
Yeah.
find somebody else. That's what I do.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't need it. I don't need it, and I honestly I
No.
don't want it. I don't know.
No.
I don't want it. You want to go and you want to go listen to somebody else? Go for it. And as a
Yeah.
matter of fact, this is exactly what I said to Iman, who just got second place in Russia, that Persian kid that I helped. And
Mhm.
I said to him, I said, if you're not going to listen to me and you're going to listen to 8 other people that are in your room, because I know there was like 8 people in this room telling him
Yeah.
different. That's why with every podcast I've done to now, to this one right now that we're talking on our podcast, I say the same thing. When people say, did you coach Iman for the Russian show? My answer is no. I told him what I would do if I were him. That's it. I dialed them in for 3 weeks, but I didn't say you have to do this. I said, this is what I would do. This is what I would do. And he kept saying, but you're my coach. I said, no. A coach works with someone for 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. That's a coach.
Yeah.
You came to me and you said, dry me out. And the things that I heard about him before I even accepted it was he doesn't listen to anybody. He only listens to himself. He's got 10 ass kissers in his room at all times, his posse, that tell him how great he is. That's why I took that defensive position, and I always do that. But what can we do, Iman? Armon, what can we do?
Yeah.
This is
No,
the
no, I
society
agree.
that
I
we're in
mean,
right
yeah,
now. It's a social media society.
I agree. And that guy has loads of potential too. And it's just like, you know, coming to you like, hey, dial me in, do this. And then I didn't know he wasn't listening. So I guess did he tell you that? Like, I really didn't do that stuff, or what happened? What did he say?
No. He said he said the exact opposite. He said he did everything to it to
Uh-huh.
do. And then I asked him, I put him on the spot because we were doing a live session. And I said, okay,
Yeah.
then let me ask you a question. All right. He goes, yes. I said, go on the record right now. Is this the best you have ever looked out of all the competitions that you've ever done up to this point? And he said, by far, yes. I said, okay, then I did my job. That's it. Done. Finished. Adios.
Okay.
Adios, muchachos. Good job.
Yeah. Are y'all still going to do something else afterwards, or he's just kind of like, listen,
Yeah.
just
Oh, yeah. He's
okay.
ready to rock and roll. I told him to take a week off, go eat, relax, do what you need to do. And I think he decided on Italy. I think he wants
Okay.
to do Italy or the Czech Republic. I'm not sure. One of the two. And in about 8 weeks. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that. See
Yeah.
how he does. I told him that he needs to control it. I gave him all my proper evaluation. I said your posing was horrible.
Right.
You don't know how
Yeah.
to do your transitions. You let your stomach go in between poses. You know, you got all that mass and you're not showing it correctly. You got to lean back on your back shots. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things I told him you need to fix, and then you can, step out to that next level. But, I can only advise. He's going to have to do it.
That's the problem when people have too many cheerleaders and in their ear and tell them like, oh, you look so good. And sometimes my clients will ask me like, Coach, why aren't you ever telling me like give me like a really good compliment or this? And I'm like, I'm just not that type of person because like I don't know if it's the way I was coached by my soccer coach and bodybuilding coaches. Like you always can be better. So what someone's telling you all the time, oh man, you're great, you look so awesome, this and that, you get like, okay, and you start slipping, you start messing up, you get too comfortable. And if you want to bodybuild and you want to compete and people's mentality is different when they go to these shows. Of course, they want to go to compete and like, oh yeah, of course I want to win, but do they really? No, you're missing meals, you're missing cardio. You're not, why didn't you drink water if I told you to drink no water today? It's like they do so many things that if they really wanted to win, they would do all these little things. Or I hate the whole, I don't feel good. My energy's low. Aren't you supposed to feel good all the time? Like, no, no. And I don't know where they get the perception from. And it's frustrating because used to, you could tell someone to do something, for me anyways, and they would do whatever I told them to do. As soon as all the YouTube stuff came out, well, I watched this video. This person said, they're eating bagels instead of rice, and like, okay, like, go eat bagels and go see what you look like on stage instead of rice or whatever on your prep.
Well, you actually brought up a good point. I think I've said this story before, but Chad Nichols was the most monotone, non-reactive human being I've ever met in my life. And I remember it didn't matter what you look like, no matter what I look like, no matter, back then we didn't have smartphones, we had Polaroids, and I had to FedEx it to him. He would never say anything. Or when he would come to your room 3 days out, 2 days out from the Arnold, from the Olympia, he would look at you and you'd be like fucking ripped to the bone. And he'll just like nod his head and be like, all right, that's good. I do this and do that. I'll come back in about 3 hours to check on you. And he'd leave. Yeah. Never, ever a compliment until, God bless Kim, his wife, Kim Shavesky. She used to come in with him once in a while in the rooms. And then when he would turn around as he's walking out, she would quickly turn around and wink and say, "You look great." And then walk out. That's it. That was it. That's like, oh, thank God. At least she said it, but I think I got that mentality from Chad.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm the same kind of way. I like negative reinforcement. I don't like it when people used to tell me, hey, you look great. That's why I got so much energy and I fed off of the trolls on getbig.com back in the day. No matter how much shit they said, they just fueled me. They gave me more power. If I was feeling low on energy on a leg day, I just went on Get Big, read a few comments, went to the gym, had the best workout of my life. So I used to thank these idiots. Thank you for giving me all that power.
Yeah, it's sad today too, because you make one critique about somebody and they dislike you for it, like as a person. And like we were talking about that bodybuilder the other week with Milos, that Milos used to train, James. I just said one thing like, hey man, you might want to put a tan on next time you guest pose and come up with a routine and entertain people. Like, and he got so upset. He was like, who are you anyways? like, dude, come on, man. I said, James, you're following me on Instagram, so you know who I am because you're following me. Because when you hit follow back, I wasn't following back. I was like, so I don't want to play those silly games, dude. But it's just it's hard to critique people and then for them to take it a certain way. But then you got those athletes that still can take it, and those are the ones that will succeed and do the best. That just listens to everything. But some people just have to have cheerleaders, and it's become more that way. And it's harder. Those people aren't that coachable. But going back to taking compounds and all the time, there's a couple YouTubers that always will go call this person out and say they're a liar, this liar, this. There are certain liars, of course, that in the industry, the fake natty guys and all that. There's a bunch of those, but when you get a certain age and you've retired and you have all this muscle mass, you're not trying to get any bigger anymore. People don't understand. After you carried, I know you especially know this because you got up to 300. Carrying that weight over all those years, it's not fun. You can't go do normal stuff like snow skiing and ride roller coaster. It limits you from doing a lot of stuff. So when you retire, like I know when I retired, it was due to injury, but I was like, man, this is like I've got to enjoy this. I don't have to force feed myself all day because I was never a big eater, or I don't have to be poking myself every single day. So it was a relief for me because I'm like, okay, I have my time. It is what it is. The industry's changed. I'm okay with that. And, I'll go to the gym to exercise and it's and look good for myself and nothing else. I don't have to worry about, you know, because I was talking about mental health the other day. I did a video on TikTok or whatever. Like a lot of these guys, they're they're so obsessed with the way they look. They 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 missed out on a lot of fun stuff. I know you still partied and had fun while you bodybuild. I mean, I still had my fun and my friends. I went out and all that stuff. A lot of these people, they just don't have any life anymore. That consumes them, and but it's in a negative way. And
Yeah.
they've got a lot of. I mean, at least y'all had big contracts that you had, and and then I still had the magazines when I started doing it and all that. But after that, you just anybody can post a picture and filter it a lot, so you don't even know what anybody looks like these days. And they're not getting on stage because they do that. A lot of these social media guys, they'll look so great on a picture, and you're like, man, if you look that amazing, why wouldn't you jump on stage? Because they don't look like that. That's why.
Right.
So it is what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is, man. But it's a cumulative thing. You know, you brought the greatest point up here, which is you need to look good at all times. Nobody wants to go through that off-season puffed up look and get up to 290, 300 pounds and then bring it. It doesn't. And now I understand from a health point of view, it is good to like stay in shape. But be ripped all year round, that's just like being fat year round. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's going to take a toll on your body. It's going to take a toll on your organs. It's going to take a toll. And you can't do it. Let's be realistic here. You're not going to do it naturally. It's not going to happen. So you're going to have to
Yeah.
use some compounds. So using those compounds all year round to have that look, you're going to fuck yourself up. You're just tearing your insides inside out.
Yeah. They don't take breaks. I know people don't take breaks anymore. It's unheard of. And if you tell someone that, no, I used to take off like 3 months off everything. They're like, why would you do that? I mean, like, you guys don't understand. You might understand when it's too late and you've got organ issues and all that. All this stuff bodybuilders take, it comes with consequences, and you have to know the consequences. And your enzymes get high, your kidney function gets off, your cholesterol will get high, and all that stuff. And a lot of people, and then when you come off, all that stuff goes back to normal. You get your blood work done, you hop on again, and I said this years back, especially when men's physique came around. I said, you know, these guys, they're taking hardeners year round. I think we're going to see in the future more of these not huge, massive bodybuilders getting sick, more just of a men's physique looking guy. And look at all the deaths we have, and how many of a lot of these guys are just normal fitness influencers, 200 pounds, 180 pounds. They're not these big 300-pound monsters that you would think, because your heart's having to carry all that weight. And then of course with Milos too, we talked about the rec stuff also. A lot of them addicted to rec stuff, and especially the uppers. And what did you take for energy when you were competing? Did you just do coffee or Fedra, or what did you do?
Shit, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing really, man. I didn't need it. I mean, listen, I thought it was normal to feel that way.
Right.
If I was tired or what have you. But I also have to preface it by saying this: I was a machine. Okay, you brought up a point that me partying, yeah, but I partied in the off season.
Right.
When I was not prepping. When it hit 16 weeks out, everything was locked in, and I didn't miss a meal. I didn't miss a massage session. I didn't miss a nap. Even naps. Like Milos has all these books and chronicles of everything he's ever done. Like, I didn't go that far, but what I
Yeah.
did is I used to write schedules down as my daily schedules of even when I had to take a 15-minute nap, I would write power nap in there. So I would know that I would lay down on the floor, elevate my feet, put my arms over my chest like this, and sleep for 15 to 20 minutes. That's how precise it was. When I had an extra $100 back then, I didn't go and do something stupid. I used it to go get a deep tissue massage because I knew it was helping me. It was helping my career. It was helping my physique become better and break down scar tissue. So it's a mentality too. It's a different concept. Energy, fuck, man. My energy was knowing that on Sundays when I sent my pictures to Chad, that he would sit there and say, "All right, man, I want you to go have a cheat meal." That would hype me up more than anything else in the world.
Yeah.
I can go have something to eat.
Yeah. I didn't take anything either. I was never a fan of anything that that made me feel like up like a. I know people now. It's just everybody has to have the crazy pre-workouts. I'm not. We just came out with our new pre-workout. I'm not against it, but I'll tell people like, hey, you should probably only take this like twice a week. Don't take it every day because your body gets used to it. It's really strong, and you'll need pump products are fine. I'm talking about these really high stem pre workouts, which our new one is pretty crazy. And I'll tell people like, hey, don't take this twice a week. I'm not gonna just because I'm selling it. I'm not gonna tell people, hey, take this every day because I just don't believe in that. And the people that are slamming like monsters, like I said before, my wife, she works at the heart hospital. How many people there are having heart surgery because for their job every day they're slamming 2 to 3 monsters every single day, shooting their blood pressure up, and they don't understand. They're like, well, it's an energy drink at the gas station. They don't take into consideration how much
Right.
stimulants they're taking in and how much it's straining their heart. And I think that's a lot of these guys are lately. You got your people that's passing away from the LASIK. That's a huge deal. That autopsy came out from the Jody Vance girl. Remember talking about her, the Texas girl,
Yeah,
the young
yep, I
girl?
saw that. I
Yeah.
saw that on the
So
thread. What was the
yeah.
autopsy? Did
So
it say?
I mean, basically, it was just heart attack due to dehydration. So
Dehydration.
she was taking the DMP and diuretics and all that, and uh, people's like still because she lives here, so it's like everybody still talks about it. It's like, and we talked about that coach before that had that podcast saying, "Oh, I love DNP. It's the greatest thing ever," and all that. And so she obviously learned how to take it somewhere, and she learned how to take diuretics from somebody. And whether that person was telling her to take them or not, when she's going to the Arnold, and everybody thought she was competing, but obviously she wasn't. She was just there to watch it, and I guess she had friends or clients in the show. But that mentality of like,
Right.
I need to go there and take DNP and diuretics to look. That is just absolutely crazy, and she's dead because of it for no reason. It's just there's the misinformation people out here are giving, and they'll come to one coach and say, "Hey, I'm taking all this." You try to bring them down, and they'll ghost after a few weeks because they think they have to have this whole amount to look a certain way. I was like, listen, you will feel better, you will look better. You just can't understand the concept. You don't need to take everything under the kitchen sink, especially as a beginner. Maybe wait till you get to a top level, so then you can push the envelope a little bit. They push it right out the gate, and that's
Yeah, but Armand, you've said it yourself 1,000 times. They don't believe you, and they don't believe me. They don't listen
no
to top athletes. They listen to internet trolls who've got a million followers for absolutely no reason. That's who
right.
they're going to listen to. Let me give you an example of my client Mari, who just competed in Russia too. She blew everybody off the fucking stage. It wasn't even close, but they said it was too much. Her shoulders were too much. She was just too much for the girls standing next to her. She made everybody else.
We lost King for a second. Let me go up to some of the questions. He's driving today, so it's a little difficult. Hope everybody's doing good. No dose and coffee. I don't know what those labs are. Appreciate it. What's the next best thing to ephedra in Canada? It's only available by prescription for a doctor. So ephedra was extremely popular and it worked, but the problem was people were just abusing it. And yeah, I just lost him. And the problem was people were abusing it, and then they started. I believe it was hydroxycut. Maybe people there was a few deaths, and then all the lawsuits, and that's when it, they pulled it from the shelves. So all these things that work really well, they get pulled a lot because people are abusing them. We got a new pre-workout out that it should be on the website any few days, but but it's a super high stim. But I'll tell people like, listen, don't take this every single day.
Yeah.
You good?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So they're not gonna listen to us, bro. And
No.
unfortunately, like we said last week with Milos, there's gonna be more deaths. There's gonna be more issues, and then hopefully people will start waking up. But what you and I can do is we can keep educating, man. That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what the IRON OGs is all about. We keep educating.
There's a scan now. I just did it last week, and there is they have them everywhere. This one's called Via Scan. It's like a 3D scan, and it's a CT, and it looks at your whole body, all your organs, your heart. So it's like an angiogram. Your kidneys. It will tell you if you have any cancers, tumors, anything wrong in your whole body, right?
Right.
So it's $600 or $700, and I've been telling my clients to do this, and a lot of them know they need to do it, and they've been bodybuilding for a while, they've been on gear for a while, high cholesterol runs with their family, heart, and they just won't do it, and they just keep putting it off. I'm like, listen, if you find out you have a heart issue, you could either get on medication, get a stent, or whatever you need to take care of your heart. Why would I just don't understand why people don't want to know that? It blows my mind. Or if that's too expensive, just at least go get a CT angiogram. It's $100, $200 to look at the heart.
Yeah.
If more bodybuilders did that, I think a lot of them would. I don't know what a lot of them would do, because we had people like Cedric and Sean Roden. I think they both had heart attacks, right, King? And then they still kept bodybuilding. So
yes.
they knew they had issues, but they kept pushing it. And I believe
there's a couple of guys that are in the top 5 right now at the Olympia that have heart issues that are still doing it. So they're playing Russian roulette. I'm not going to drop any names, but I'm going to just say there's a couple of guys, they're playing Russian roulette.
Yeah. And they're told, and they know, and they just, it's just, there's a certain way to do it, man. And when we talk about it, we're not putting these people down. We're calling it out, because we're saying, hey, man, like, when you're dead, you're gone. Like, we're telling you guys stuff to do that will help your health. And it's not worth it. Like, at least take a break and get your health in check, and then resume. Find out what's going on. If you're getting bloods and they're bad and worse, and you keep going, that's you're going to die. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Debbie Downer, but I mean, it's just, hey,
no, you're not being Debbie Downer. You're being honest.
King, would you be competing today in the current condition, how everything is? Like, take where you competed from, and then, like, let's say you're a young kid now and you have the same mentality, whatever. Would you compete today, or would you do it to the same lengths you did, or what would be your motivation today?
I think to honestly answer that question, I think if I'm being real honest with myself, I'd probably be doing it for clickbait and try to get millions of followers and try to do the Sam Sulik thing. That's what I would be
Yeah.
doing. That's being
Yeah.
completely honest, because that is the trend right now. Back then,
Mm.
no. Back then, I had Mr. Olympia dreams and magazines and Weeder contract. I mean, I basically checked off everything I had on my bucket list that I ever wanted
No.
to do.
Yeah. And you had to get on stage. There was no other way. If people wanted to know, you had to get on stage, place a show, win a show, whether it be local area, national level, pro level. You had to do something for people to know you. Now, to stay relevant, you have to do the social media thing, and then you go
Yeah.
back and talk about why you're on social media. If you're not on social media today, you're not. People don't know who you are.
Yeah.
They don't remember who won. I mean, I don't even remember who won. Other than certain Olympias, like who won a pro show last year, any pro show other than like the Arnold or Olympia. I can't remember who won these shows.
Right.
So what they're doing is, I mean, like Sam and these other guys, they have a niche, and when people come to me too, I always tell them, listen, I'm being realistic with you. If you're doing this to make money, you're doing it for the wrong reason, because all these people you see, these guys are not, except the certain few like the Sams. These guys aren't making money. These guys' cars they're posting. It's not their cars. It's not their house. Most of these guys, unless they're just born into money. If you're bodybuilding, this shit's expensive. It's not cheap. And so when someone wants to compete, I always go over it with them. Like, hey, before we start this journey, I'm just letting you know, just take out the drugs, just the food. It's a lot of money. And then you get to these entries now, and each class is what, a couple $100, Tan's a couple $100. I mean, it adds up. Just to do a show naturally, just to enter, because most people, they'll do a couple classes. They'll do like the novice, the open, maybe a master's, the Tan, a suit. If you're a girl, that's already $1,000 right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not everybody can afford that.
Bro, not everybody can afford shit right now.
Yeah, I
was with my kids all day yesterday. We're at the fucking mall. I didn't see, maybe about 10 people were carrying some bags. Everybody was just walking around. And I'm the one that's sitting here looking around. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're living in a very crazy time right now.
Yeah.
But listen, I know that you said at the beginning we're gonna shorten this up a little bit today, but let's finish this with something fun. First of all, tell everybody who we got coming next week, because that's fun.
Chris Cormier is supposed to come, so
he'll come. I'll send him.
He's supposed to go. So
I'll send him a couple messages. Don't worry.
He said he's traveling. He said he was traveling this week, and he said he'll come on next week. So we'll have him on. This week was a little off week. I've been sick. You're on the road, but we'll still come on here. We'll go. There's not many questions today. It's just kind of comments and stuff.
Yeah, whenever I talk to Chris, there's a different Chris Cormier. I can get the best of Chris out of him.
Yeah, no, I don't think he would.
I have too many skeletons in his closet that I know about. So,
but I only partied with him twice, and I can't even tell those stories. Too many Chiefs these days, not enough Indians. Yeah. John, what's up, John? Then they blame the coach. Yeah. You got a lot of people like that. If they'll do a show, and it's very easy to blame the coach, and they don't listen to the coach the whole time. Like a lot of these guys last year, like we spoke about with Milos. He has that James Hollingshead hire. I don't know if he's still with them. I don't think he's still with them, but he went out and told people, yeah, Milos was my coach, but I didn't listen to anything Milos was telling me to do. I'm like, what? How much sense does that make? Why are you having someone like Milos that's a top coach trying to look at your pictures every week, probably trying to figure out what the fuck's going on with your body because you're not listening to him and you're doing your own thing? That makes zero sense. It's crazy.
Yeah, and Armon, listen, I worked with Milos one time too, and his methods were almost not almost. They were very different from Chad Nichols. I was used to, and I went to school of Chad Nichols. You know what I'm saying? So Milos was very insulin orientated, and he did things a certain way. And then Chad was heavy, and lots of suffering. Milos was, insulin, giant sets, and, a whole different mentality. But be completely honest with you, man, I did everything he told me to do, and it didn't work for me. I was as big as a motherfucking house, but it wasn't the look that I like that looks good on me. Like Jay
Right.
Cutler admitted. Jay did the cytodrin, did the, low carbs and keto and all that stuff. And he came into the Arnold Classic that one year, ultra shredded, looked like shit. He won, but he didn't look good. He
Right.
even, he was like, I know I look like, this is not the look that's good for me. Jay looks good, full, hard and full. But I did it. What's the point here? When Milos told me to take the insulin before, drink the Gatorade during, afterwards, we got to load back up even more. The whole preload, explode, reload, concept that we talked about last week. I did it. Yes, I got monstrously big, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I did everything he told me to do. That's the problem. Too many chefs in the kitchen. That's the problem.
Yeah. Your body looked good best at, streamlined waist, the condition.
252, right between 250 and 254. Anything over 255, no. I competed once at 263, no. It wasn't a thing for me. But again, you trial and error and all that stuff. But you learn, you live and learn.
It was like, I forgot what show it was, but it was like one show you were almost like too big. You couldn't even like hold your poses because you were so full. I forgot which show
that
it was.
That was the Montreal show. That was the show where I beat Dennis Wolf, believe it or not. But Weinberger came in afterwards and said, King, stop. I was like, okay. And stop. You're getting past the limits of what, you don't need to get this fucking big. Quality. I'm like, all right,
And it's weird. It's I know when you started competing, I know you started, I think, what, a light heavyweight?
Yeah, my first show after the teenage stuff, my actual first show was at the Collegiate Nationals at 198 pounds. But I struggled to get down to 198. I mean, I really struggled.
And it's weird how you can kind of like go up, because I started as a middleweight, then was light heavy, then was heavy, and I stayed in the light heavy division for too long, just trying to lose muscle and still get in that division, just because it was a big jump to the heavies, and it was just different back then. And I held myself. I look back at a lot of stuff I did over the years, and I'm like, I held myself back a lot, just doing things just so wrong for so many years. I remember one of my best looks, it was like 215. But once I got like over that, and you start competing, like, I think it was like 230, 240, you can't really go back. If you try to go back to that size, your body just doesn't look right. Like, a lot of these bodybuilders, when Men's Physique came out, I had a lot of these bodybuilders like, can I just do that? And since it's easy and all that, and we tried it with a few of them, they just didn't look right because they had that 3D look. And even though they lost size, they just didn't have that, because the Men's Physique guys, they look great from the front, cap shoulders, but still today, when they turn to the side, they don't have that thickness that the open bodybuilders have.
Yeah.
It's just not there. And I know a lot of people, and I think it was a lot of the judges' fault too, because you go ahead and talk to the judges. I know I did. Hey, you look great. Just get bigger. Just get bigger. Just get bigger.
Yeah.
And then, bigger is not always better. People's got to understand.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
This guy said, I responded better to positive reinforcement, John. Some people like that. like King talked earlier. I'm like that with my clients too. Like I look at them like, okay. They're like, and then some of them were like, am I not looking good? I'm like, I'm not on track. I'm like, no, you're perfectly on track. I'm like, what do you want me to tell you? Hooray, good job every time. Like I wasn't coached that way. So, and if someone, and then, when Dave helped me, Dave was a great coach. He was always just like, freaky, you look amazing, you look awesome. And so that's why I went to Hani because Hani was a total opposite. Like, he would never compliment you. He was like, I don't know if you're ready for this. I don't know if you're good enough. And then it made you better. So, and then me and Dave were friends. A lot of times when you're friends with somebody too, and you coach, I know you probably coached a lot of your friends too. It's hard to coach friends because you can't separate. You know, some people can't separate the coach friendship relationship. I have that problem with friends I've prepped in the past.
Yeah, listen, I again another story that I think I've told before. One of the best training partners I've ever had. Like I used to find my training partners, and my training partners were never bodybuilders. They were normal people, but they had some type of intensity or something about them that made me train harder when I heard their voice. And one of the best I've ever had was an MS-13 gang. I mean, the kid was a fucking gangster, man. He was a killer. You know, I called him loco. I used to always call him loco. This kid never had respect. Like he would fucking curse at me, and when we would train, he'd be like, "Yeah, you definitely fifth place, no more than fifth. You're no good, man. You're no good, man." You know, I used to charge me to the point where I'm like, "Fuck you," and we used to curse at each other and this and that. But it gets to me. Now, this guy who just came in with this question saying I like positive stuff. No offense, buddy, but that a lot of my female clients are like that. Okay.
That was John. That was John. It was podcast we did last.
Oh,
Couple
John
weeks ago.
Leva. Sorry,
Yeah,
John. But a
yeah,
lot of my girl,
yeah.
I will never tell my female clients anything bad because they are too emotional. Women function on emotion. Okay, that's how women work. So I've learned how to deal with them. I learned how to talk to them. I know how to communicate with them and let them know how I feel and what I want without putting them down, even if they're behind, even if they're lagging a little bit. But yeah, man, to each his own. I like negative reinforcement.
Yeah, women and men are completely different prepping. Completely
Listen,
different because
listen, Armon. I'm about to pull up to the crib in about a minute, but I want to say
you're
this.
good.
Let's. I want to say one thing here so we can have the nice clickbait version of what we're doing here today too. There's a huge debate going on right now on the entire social media networks about 100 men versus one male silverback gorilla, and who would win the fight between 100 men and one silverback gorilla. I would like to say one thing to those morons who think that 100 men would take out a male silverback gorilla. I would say I'm only going to say one thing because I've heard every fucking argument you can imagine. My response will be this: put 100 John Joneses, because he was the
Yeah.
baddest man on the planet, against one silverback, and I guarantee you there will be limbs, eyeballs, there will be heads split in two pieces. You people are absolutely fucking retarded. I mean, you're imbeciles if you think a human being, even 100 human beings, can stand next to a silverback gorilla. And I'll even go so far to say this: a full-grown chimp, just a male chimp, would kill about 40 men. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Rip your face off. I
It'll
didn't
rip
even
your
see
dick
this
off. It'll
go.
bite your fingers off. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I didn't even see this whole thing going on, whatever. But that's funny though. But cool.
Yeah.
We'll have Corbier's coming on next week. So we'll have a good time with that. And we cut it short. Today we just got on here and answered a few questions and talked a little bit. But we'll have Chris on next week. And are you training later today? Are you done for the day?
No, absolutely not. I'm going to the gym. I got to do 45 minutes of cardio. No, I'm Benjamin Button.
I'll get back in the gym eventually. I think I got like 2.5 more weeks from the stem cell. All right, brother. Have a good day. I'll see you next week, King.
Peace, brother.
All right, later, bro. Bye.